Hello, welcome back to Steve Vlog. And today I am with one of the jewels in the UK's crown of songwriters. Ginger Wildheart is here and he's talking to me about his upcoming new album, The Satanic Rites of the Wildhearts, which is out May the 7th on Snake Farm Records. Ginger, pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you as well. Thank you for your chili recommendation, George. As everyone can see, George is a bit of a chili sauce expert, and he's just recommended Seed Ranch Hot Thai Green. I'm going in, and I suggest all you lot do as well.
Fabulous, fabulous. So, new lineup, new album. What's the feeling in the Wildhearts camp these days? Everyone ready to go?
Everyone's just excited,
Yeah.
we've been sitting on this album for a little while. It feels like because I've already written the next one, so it feels like when you see actors promoting a movie and they're already 5 years ahead of the media. So I feel well, not 5 years ahead, but at least a good while ahead of everyone else. And I've been sitting on this album for ages. I cannot wait. I mean, I'm gasping for people to hear it now and see the new lineup. We took the lineup to Europe at the end of last year just to make sure that we could all get on long distances, especially the first distance that we traveled was 32 hours in a van.
You're
If you can get on with people for 32 hours in a van, it's all okay. So
gonna be
yeah, we
fine.
just ticked off every single box that could possibly be a problem, and now we're all just chomping at the bit to get out there and prove it on the pitch.
Well, it's an incredible record. It's a very technical sounding record. It takes in many styles within one song, which to fans of your work, that's not actually a surprise. You're known for being a wildly eclectic songwriter. You've got one of my friends, Ben, in your band now.
Oh yeah.
Ben, I've known for since you were a wee nipper, and he's an incredible guitarist, outstanding guitarist, and I'm stoked to bits that he's joined the Wild Hearts, and people are going to hear this incredible talent of his. So, was the technicality something that grew out of those songwriting sessions and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I've always been, there's no secret to anyone who's followed us before, for a while rather, that we were always inspired by cardiacs.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, having John Poole in our pack, brings in that kind of cardiacs element where anything goes. And it was a prog approach played by punks, and that's why I think a lot of people who are in Napalm Death or love the Cardiacs. Mike Patton loves
Mm.
Cardiacs. So it was one of those bonding experiences for the band that it was like, oh, sorry, I've got my next door neighbour's going to bang on the door in a second. They're so nice around here, but yeah, so there was always that thing of wanting to take this places. The technical side was really important. Getting Ben involved, I liked Ben and would played songs with him before, but and I knew he knew the words to Caffeine Bomb,
Oh, I.
but I didn't know how good he was until we got in a studio. And I felt a bit like Ozzy Osbourne getting someone like Randy Rhoads in. And God, people just really don't know how good this guy is.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
apart from the fact that, biologically he looks, sounds, and acts like a wild heart, he's got an extra element to his playing that surprised me. He's going to surprise everybody else. And I think we've just touched upon it here, but
Mm.
the places that we're going to take this with the musicianship that we've got really is going to be something exciting.
Absolutely. And you've got the incredible rhythm section too, like really solid on this record, really sound. Can you tell me a little more about the rhythm section?
Well, I think if you get a bass player like John Poole, who
Mm.
is, Geddy Lee standard bass player,
Absolutely.
you've got to give him a good drummer, you know.
Absolutely.
And so the drummer that played on the demos was a guy called Cheb Nettles, who plays with Gong. And he changes his name every project that he does. So for this one, he was called Dudge Gurdon. Um, Gets complicated a little bit, but we did the demos. They were self-financed, the demos. I just financed the demos. We got the interest of Dante Benuto from Snake Farm, and he offered us a deal based on the strength of the demos. Went straight in to do the album, and I had a fit of the gilts, and I asked Rich and CJ from the old lineup if they wanted to join, listen to the demos, look at the deal that was on the table, um, and they both said no. To be honest, when they said no, it was a massive relief. And not a relief because I didn't want them involved, a relief because it was closure for me from the last thing. I could move on then. And not wanting to do it, and I understand because the last one it ended up really ugly. Yeah, I can understand their choice not to do it. That is their choice. What their choice is not is whether I continue to do it. So I figured that I'm going to go straight in, with John Poole still on bass, with Dudge Stroke Cheb still on drums because they knew the songs, and I figured who's the guy? It's fucking Ben Marsden, isn't it? So I got Ben Marsden in on guitar. Um, the rest was an absolute dream. I've got my neighbours just swanning around the front window. I can't do anything. I'm got these. Um, yeah,
You
yeah.
mentioned
So
the name there.
when it came to put the band together live, and Cheb was obviously really busy with his gig. So a good friend of ours told us about Charles Evans. Said he was great. We had some B-sides to do for the singles
Hmm.
from the album. Once the deal went through, Charles came down, played on the demos. Fuck me, he's as good as the guy on the record. We took it to Europe to make sure that it was all airtight and absolutely, you know, guaranteed to work. And the whole process has been bizarrely organic. From me paying to go in the studio, from Jim Pinder allowing me to come in the studio on real mates rates, considering what he's been up to, like
Hmm.
Ghost, Bullet for My Valentine,
Yeah,
Bring Me the
right.
Horizon, and he still does mate rates for me. And then the deal went through, and Dante brought Jim to do the album. The whole thing's just been beautiful and organic.
Amazing. Now you've mentioned there a name that I recognize. I'm 47. I recognize from my past, Dante Bonotto, and Snake Farm. I believe is part of Spine Farm. Is it? Is that correct?
Yeah, which is part of
Universal.
Warner's, which is
Yeah.
part of probably Donald Trump or something. I don't know. I mean, they're all it. There's a big boss somewhere, but they have the universal budget capabilities.
Hmm. Well, Dante used to be the editor of Raw magazine back in the day, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Dante's first ever job in A&R was doing the Wildhearts, Earth versus the Wildhearts. So
Oh
can
my
you
God.
imagine in the deep end with both feet, with fucking stones tied to them. Um, And I think it was all easy from there for him. But for him to have the balls to come back around after all this time, and we're working together now, obviously with a lot of experience under both of our belt, it's just so satisfying. Everything feels really satisfying and fresh.
Mm. And I'll tell you one thing I was really pleased to hear in the album, especially, I mean, it comes out in the first tune, is I've always loved the fact that Wild Arts tunes have this almost Beach Boys-esque, like, sort of harmony vocal thing going on in the choruses. And I love that was retained. It's like that one of those trademark, staples that I love from a Wild Hearts track. So that was beautiful. And then the sort of proggy sort of interludes and stuff were amazing, really, really amazing. So, yeah, well, I mean, how do you write? I wanted to get into, because I think you're one of the better songwriters we've have in the UK, like, classic. Um, like, how does that thought process go? How do you just start with like a riff and then it's like a train of thought thing? It goes off to all these different places.
It very seldom starts with me sitting on a guitar. I'll say seldom because I would have said never, but the other day I had a song come through and it just wrote itself. And you know, when usually when that happens, I'm not a critic anymore. There's reasons for that, but I'm not a critic to the songs that come in. I'm just like, hey, you want to be born? I'll give birth to you. But most of the time, it starts with a turn of phrase, and it could be something that's been sitting in my head, waiting for a, waiting for a chance to be used. But all the songs, pretty much all of the songs, 99% come when I'm walking. And I walk with Maggie, my dog, and I walk a lot and I get inspired. And the inspiration is the first thing that kind of galvanizes all of these different elements. And what I'll normally get is a chorus first. And it'll be something like, oh, that's going to be good. That's going to work. People are going to love that. It might be a riff based on the pace that we're walking or running. It might be just again just a few lines that just go like, oh, this is really easy. These rhymes are coming easy. There's something here. And then all I got to do is maintain that element of inspiration. By the time I get home, and again, I write all my songs in my head, and I very seldom make demos ever. Um, and then I get home, and the whole thing just pours through like a good shit. And it again, it's a very, very organic process, but one that I don't argue with
Mm.
anymore. And there's times where I've had a riff and I've just sat down and battled against everything to get this song done. And then there's times where I wake up and there's a riff in my head.
Mm.
But for the most part, it's all about being inspired. And if when people tell me about, they're writing songs and they've run out of ideas, I'm like, you haven't run out of ideas. You're just doing it wrong. You're
Mm.
sitting and you're trying to force. And you, again, if you use the having a shit analogy, you know, I'm furious. I've been sat on the toilet for half an hour and I can't have a shit because you don't need a shit. Wait until there's something coming through, and that's actually that's a really good analogy.
That's a great analogy.
But I would say to all songwriters out there, if it ain't coming, it ain't coming.
Mm.
Go for a walk, go for a run, do whatever it is that puts you that in alignment with whatever it is you like being aligned with, whether it's nature, whether it's getting on your bike and just fucking speeding down some country roads, whatever it is, whether it's going to the gym, boxing, whatever it is, your alignment will help your songwriting. Just you've got
That's,
to get into that space where you're inspired, whatever it is that inspires you. It's worked for me for years, a long, long time, a lot of songs, and
mm.
so I feel justified in telling people that's how you do it.
Well, you can't argue with that. You've been one of the most prolific writers because not, I mean, there is the Wildhearts, but you've done solo records, Silver Ginger Five. You've done all kinds of stuff, and I mean, I don't know if you could put a number on the amount of songs you've written since Earth versus the Wildhearts. Millions. I don't know.
I can't count that high.
No. So, also another collaborator on this album who comes from punk rock royalty, obviously, Carol Hodge, our friend Carol Hodge, who like does keys on this record, doesn't she? Is it
There's not a lot of keyboards on this record, considering it sounds like there's a lot of keyboards on this record, but it's
right?
guitar effects.
Oh,
Carol came in, I've known Carol for a while, and
yeah,
she's absolutely one of my favorite people. And she came in to provide all of the female vocals that you
yeah.
hear on the album. Now, I'm an absolute sucker for male and female vocals. It's my favorite sound in the world. Ever since I was a little kid,
Mm.
my first ever single was Welcome Home by Peters and Lee, which you're way too young to remember, but it's a duet. And I've always loved male and female vocals. So when Carol came in and I heard the sound that me and her make, and I'm like, oh, that's a nice sound. That's a really nice sound. So we got her to do all the vocals on the B sides that Charles played on. Again, sounds amazing. We were sitting talking, and I said, Carol, do you know anyone who can just play keyboards and sing high vocals on stage, live, but off the stage because I don't want a keyboard player on stage. Not at the moment. It's a four-piece.
Mm.
Says I'll do it, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You're way too overqualified
Mm.
for this gig. I want someone who has a tenth of your talent. And she insisted. And the thing is, when Carol gets involved, she's such a beautiful personality. She's got such, great politics, a great spiritual side, and she's just a great laugh to be with. Very
Nice.
positive. And so she just figures in the bigger picture for me. So,
Mm.
right now, it's a four-piece. That's how we're pushing it. But, in the future, I can see Carol being a much bigger part of this.
And of course, you've appeared on Carol's records. You've done a couple of vocals for her, haven't you?
I co-sang again another duet, a song called "The Price"
Mm.
for her. I can never vertiginous drops. I got it.
But did you? I
Vertiginous.
can't say that word either. I,
No
I
one
really
can.
struggle with
She
it.
names her albums for so to confuse people. As beautiful as they are. I did a co-star for a song called "The Price," which is beautiful. And again, that was the first time I heard our voices together. And it's you know, just go and listen to the song to hear
Yes,
what I'm talking about. But it's
that's
a very special thing when you get that male-female combination and it works and it makes that sound. I don't know what that sound is, but my ears do.
mm,
I'm in. I'm in. I'm hooked, line and sinker.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, I'm quite interested, like with you lyrically, you're very you're a very noted lyricist, and I wondered, did you have you ever played with the idea of writing a book at
Well, I
all?
did write a book.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, yeah, I wrote a book called Words, Songs and Words.
Songs and words, right?
And it was when we were doing, it was between Pledge. If anyone remembers Pledge, it was a thing where people could pay for things to be
Yeah.
manufactured. Between Pledge falling apart, getting all of the corporates involved, and it being raped to death,
All right.
to us doing the gas thing, which was Ginger's Associate Secret Society or something like that, which was again like a fan club, like people invested in you doing things.
Mm.
But one of the first things that we did was the book, Songs and Words,
All
and we were
right.
charging £40 for it. And people, £40 for a book? You must be joking. And we went through hell putting that book together. But the idea of a book, writing
Mm.
a book, terrified me. And a lot of the time, the reason why I do things is because they terrify me. I like doing things that scare the living shit out of me. I think I'm still trying to get that feeling of like your first gig kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah.
So we did the book anyway. A few people begrudgingly parted with their £40, and we told people that it was going to be deleted after a certain amount of issues. And when I say that, I mean it. Well, the book came out, it sold out straight away, and now you cannot get that book anywhere. And
Mm.
people go trying to hunt it down online. I've heard people paying up to 500 quid for it.
My God.
Every time people now start complaining about stuff, and I'm just like, you've been doing this since about 1993, complaining about something that you think you're not going to like or you're not going to want. So it's good fun to hear them still doing it about the new album or the new lineup or whatever it is. And I love it. I love it. As long as I'm in the conversation, I fucking love it.
So your dog's become a bit of a rock star as well. I noticed she came out on the acoustic tours with you and was occupying a space on stage. Has she got her own Instagram or anything like
No, no, she's far too cool for all of that.
that?
She leaves that to nerds like me. Um, she's my partner. She's my soulmate. I found my soulmate on this in this world. It's funny because I've got a, without going too woo-woo on you, I have a strong spiritual side. I've
Mm,
got a massive interest in everything that's not 3D.
mm,
And I don't believe that time is linear. I don't believe that time and space are even fundamental. I believe that consciousness is fundamental and time is liquidic. It's all over the place. There's no beginning or end. And I've been seeing this dog's face since I was a kid. I've been obsessed with border collies, but only border collies with brown in them. I love all dogs, but not obsessed with all dogs. This dog's face with black and white with bits of brown in it. And it was Maggie's face. And I've known all my life, not until I got her, was it confirmed. But it now works out that all my life I've known that she was going to be in my life. I also believe that there's a thing, or it's going to get too fucking weird. I'll pull myself back before I get too fucking esoteric. But Maggie's my soulmate, my partner, my best mate, and she'll be everywhere that I can possibly take her. On acoustic gigs, obviously, it's very quiet on
Yeah.
stage, and the audience is amazing. And
Mm.
it is a testament to how great the people are in the crowd. But she can wander around, they throw the ball for her, and we're talking like pretty packed places, so she's squeezing between people's legs. I don't know if you know anything about border collies,
I
but they,
used to have one.
they don't forget anything. If
Nope.
anything
Clever,
traumatic
clever,
happens to
clever.
them, they'll remember that for the rest of their life. If any person in any of the gigs that I've done was a cunt to her, was just pushed her out the way or give her a slight dig, she would have never went back in any crowd ever. She would have avoided crowds. And it's just testament to how great the people are in the crowd, in the Wild Arts community, that they were so kind to her that she felt that comfortable walking around them, jumping up on them, licking their faces. It's again, just her going on stage and the people being that great just inspires the fuck out of me. If this
Absolutely.
community knew how much they inspire me, they'd probably all be blushing.
Well, as I say, I did have a border collie called Barney, and he was my absolute world.
Oh,
And I can like they are the best dogs. I'd have another one in a second if I lived in the right accommodation. But yes, they're incredible dogs, incredible
they,
dogs.
they are
Oh,
amazing. Very loyal, very smart.
clever, clever, clever. So with the album, there's obviously touring. You've announced a UK tour. Is there like as we go into summer, is there anything you're allowed to tell us about that's coming up?
No,
No.
what I've found with this arrangement that I've got now, and again, it's all just come about. It's nothing I've put together. It's come about, but I'm co-working with a lot of people. I have been a little bit of a control freak in the past, purely by necessity. If I didn't step in and drive this thing home, it just wouldn't have happened. Um, but it's not something I enjoy doing. I always wanted to co-work with people to have a really good, strong team. Well, I've got that now, but it also means that I've got to wait until it's time for them to to allow me to say things. So there's loads of things in the pipeline, but no, I'm not allowed to talk about it. But I understand we're not doing Newcastle. I understand we're not doing London. Trust me, we're not ignoring you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, London can wait. They get all the good stuff. Right, now, I'm going to wrap this up in the same way I'm wrapping up all my interviews this year. I've asked this question to Dave Lombardo from Slayer and all kinds of people. Right, right, if you have to put one song on the national curriculum that every child before the age of 18 should hear, what song would that be?
What of mine or
Of
ever?
anything, any genre? What do you think is essential listening for a formative youth?
The Duck and Roger the Horse by Cardiacs.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. I've had all kinds of, like, by the way, Dave Lombardo said Slayer, but that's a given. Of
I,
course.
I mean, I could have said one of mine, but no, I think everyone should listen to Cardiacs, and that's a good gateway song.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Right. Ginger, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Best of luck with the new album. It's an absolute screamer. Love it. And love to see Ben getting his platform there. It's very heartwarming. So
We,
thank you
we
so
haven't even
much.
started with that boy. We haven't even started. But thank you, George. Thank you very much, and thank you for the chili sauce tip.